What's going on YouTube? This is Crazy Samurai 71 here, bringing you another video. Today I'm bringing a video on Kamen Rider Build episode 12. This episode was really good. For those who do not know, Kamen Rider Build, really great show right now. And as far as things go with this episode, it does some really important things regarding a lot of characters, regarding big plot points that are happening right now. So keep that in mind. So as far as things go, for the beginning, the episode is called Conspiracy Theory, and the episode basically begins with us learning about Sawa. Now, as we know, Sawa is working for Nanba, and we end up hearing all about that, stuff that we already know, but in this case, Sento and Ryoga and Mizora are all learning that. So it's important. So we end up learning all about that, and also about the connection that Nanba has to the Totoro government and Faust, and we also learned about the fact that Faust and Totoro's government are working together. That's kind of learned throughout the episode, but it's still generally brought up there. And so eventually what does end up happening is, after they learn about her connection and everything and what's been going on, we also have it where they end up having to go and fight. Well, there ends up being a message that was from Night Rogue talking to Stark, I guess, and basically saying, you know, where did you put the Pandora's box? And Stark basically said, I put it in the place that it was originally found in, and that was in Nanba's industry, research science area. And so basically what happens is that at that point they have to go over to that location. And one thing that we also find out through a clip that happened earlier, I guess, is that when Sento goes to the Totoro Institute, he ends up speaking to Utsumi, the guy that's always been the assistant to Gentaku. And one thing that happens is that they end up having a conversation where he's trying to find out where the Pandora's box may have originally been placed inside that location. And basically what happens is that he mentions that there's a third floor to the building, and yet he only sees two because the third floor is hidden in a secret passageway, and yet Utsumi manages to show him where it is. And you know, he at first, you know, he's typically a very serious character, but in this case he actually does a joke but still is very serious. And one thing that Sento even mentions is that so are you so which is the real you, the serious self, or you know, this other you? And he says we're one and the same. And the reason why it's important is something that happens later on in the episode. So anyway, following all this, we end up seeing it where Sento and Ryoga end up going after him. Going after the Pandora's box. What we see also is that Ryoga is going to lead the team. As we know, Ryoga just became Kamen Rider Cross, and you know, Sento doesn't really have many bottles at all. So what basically ends up happening is that Sento doesn't really have much he can do as far as fighting goes. So Sento has to take the back end of this fight at first. So he's fighting the Guardians while while Ryoga is fighting Night Rogue, because that ends up happening. And then following this, Sento, what we end up seeing is Stark coming down, and he came to, you know, continue to fight Night Rogue, because Night Rogue still feels that he is in charge of Faust, even though Stark is. And so they end up fighting, and eventually at one point Stark ends up plunging his trans stream gun into a wall, which is where the Pandora's box is being stored. So when he does that, suddenly the panels and everything are located in there, and Sento notices two bottles. One of them is the Densha bottle, or Resha bottle, and the other one is for Kaizoku or pirates, and he ends up using them too in the build driver. And what happens is that he ends up becoming Kaizoku Resha, which is the form they takes on, which is a combination of pirates and trains, which is a cool form. I actually like the color combination and the theming, and it's also just really cool in general, because if you watch Super Sentai, you know that those are two different concepts that have been done in Sentai, so it's kind of cool to see both of those things kind of meld together, and with the weapon that he does end up gaining later on is really cool because it's a combination of that, and it's so cool because they do that a lot with these weapons, but I like the theming. I like the way that they do that stuff. So yeah, Kaizuk and Resha, trains and pirates. So anyway, we end up seeing Sento use that. Eventually, at one point, Stark does end up disappearing with the Pandora's box, but Sento does manage to recover all the bottles that he lost, and also the panels that he had. So the panels that he had and the bottles, he has them now. Plus, learning this new combination is important because there were certain bottles that he already had. It's just that he didn't understand what goes with what. That was really what it was. It wasn't like these are new bottles. These are bottles he's had before. He just didn't know how to make them work together. So anyway, for some reason he also has another build driver. That's not really explained. It's not really clear as to whether or not, did he have one already made? Was it one that he made the moment he found out that Ryoga might be becoming a rider? There was no explanation there, but it is something to note. Anyway, following all this, we do end up seeing the Sento and Ryoga go back. They talk about the fact that yes, they got back the bottles and everything. And what we also find out is about Sawa's father, and about the fact that he was one of the researchers that wanted to find out the truth about the Pandora's box, and during the Skywall incident, he was one of the researchers that got killed in that incident. There were 11 researchers that originally got killed, and she wants to avenge her father for what had happened to him in the process of this whole pursuit, and she wants to do right by the world in that way. So anyway, all this is true, all this is still important. Eventually what ends up happening in the meantime is that Sento ends up working on another weapon. As we've seen, Sento has done the Voltaic Breaker, the Hawk Gatling gun, and also the Ning comic sword that I'm forgetting what it's called now, but that's something. So now he creates a fourth weapon, and this weapon is the Kaizuk departer, which is the Resha departer, which is like a train bow, which basically it's a bow that shoots trains, and it shoots it like bullets pretty much. It's really cool, really great concept. Anyway, he ends up getting really excited about it, showing all the different moves, saying what they do or whatever, but he wants to test it out, and he nearly ends up shooting not Mizora, but her father, who I'm forgetting his name at this moment right now, but it's just really cool to see all that. And I'm gonna double check what's his name right now. Doesn't matter. The point is that it's Soichi. So anyway, all that does happen. Eventually, we end up seeing this thing where they end up learning about the connection between Totoro and Faust, and eventually what happens is that Sawa goes to speak to the Totoro government's prime minister, who's still in bed. There's the interim one, which is Gentaku, but basically what happens is that she ends up going to speak to him about how Faust is working with Totoro's government, and at first when she mentioned this to him, he's like, that sounds crazy, I don't believe this, I should know this. And the thing is that following this, someone else comes in basically saying that they're finally going that Totoro's government is finally going to take out Faust, and which basically tells the Totoro prime minister that this lady's crazy, I don't believe her, why should I even believe her if I just heard from people that I respect and know I can trust are saying that we're attacking them. Why would we attack them if we're working with them? So clearly that's something that he doesn't know enough, and he's just assuming what he knows. So eventually she ends up being attacked, and she ends up running away, and at one point Sento ends up saving her and bringing her to safety. So then following this, we end up seeing that the Guardians and Toto's government goes after the false leader, which is Night Rogue. Now the thing is that might seem like, okay, no big deal, like they come after him, they try to shoot him or whatever, but eventually what we see is that Gentaku is also outside. So wait, Gentaku and Night Rogue, what's going on? As we know, they're the same person. Thing is that it's not Gentaku, obviously. So what we find out later on is that, you know, he ends up being attacked a bunch, and Sento knows that, like, he doesn't seem like Night Rogue. There are certain things that he does and gestures and things like that tell him right away, this isn't the same person that I have fought before. So at one point, what happens is that Sento ends up separating Night Rogue from the crowd and fights him. He at first uses the Nin Comics form, but then eventually transforms into the Kaiser Crusher form, where he gets to use the new weapon that he has, which is really cool. So he uses different moves and neat tricks with it, and then eventually the form of Night Rogue disappears, and we finally get to see who it is, and that is Utsumi, you know, the assistant to Gentaku. Now I'm gonna double check what his actual name is, because like I keep on saying that, but he does have a name, and I feel like it's kind of nice to make that a little bit more clear. But anyway, that is something. No, Noriaki, that's his name. So anyway, he's revealed, and the thing is that eventually we end up hearing this whole thing about how, you know, he wanted to enjoy life, he wanted to cry about the memories that he had, and he wanted to laugh about the silly things that happened in life, but, you know, things went the wrong way for him, and, you know, he says, you still have a chance to, and he says, Kiro Sento, basically confirming that, yes, he knows who he is, which we expect that, but it's important for Sento to know that, because we as an audience know it, but as far as him as a character goes, he doesn't know that Gentaku is Night Rogue, obviously. He doesn't know for a fact that Stark is Katsuragi. We assume it is, but we don't know. And you know, he didn't know that Utsumi was working for Faust. So anyway, following all this, you know, Utsumi even tries to like kill himself by using the bottle. Now, the thing that's interesting is that he takes this form of Night Rogue. And that doesn't necessarily mean in this case, judging from the fact that he reverted, that he actually was at the hazard level that would require him to be able to transform. It might have been some sort of disguise, because he was going to use a bottle to kill himself. We actually see that, where he ends up trying to twist the cap so he can kill himself, but Sento ends up pulling it away from him. So clearly his hazard level is probably more within the ranges of like a 1 to about a 2. Like, you know, anywhere from like a 1 to a 1.9, because it would have killed him, as opposed to had it turn him into a smash monster. So that's something to note. Anyway, following this, you know, we end up seeing that Utsumi tries to like tell Sento something about like who's really in charge and who is Night Rogue or whatever. And what happens is that suddenly Gentaku ends up shooting Utsumi into the lake that's near them, and he dies. So yeah, he's gone. Now, as far as what that means from here, well, let's just say this much. We end up seeing that the government then feels that, like, you know, he is the leader, he's really in charge of everything, because Gentaku clearly framed him. Now, that's something that I forgot to mention, which is the fact that, you know, there's all these situations with the Pandora's box and everything, and at one point, because the box was moved, what ends up happening is that they have no choice but to create this situation, and that's something that Namba decides that has to happen, and like Utsumi knows that that's something that might have had to happen to him. So that's something important to remember. Anyway, following all this, we end up seeing that back at the base, you know, Sawa wants to leave, but then what happens is that everyone says to her, like, you know, you can't leave. You promised that you would write articles to prove my innocence, and that's like what Ryoga says. And then Sento says that he wants that, like, she promised to write to take pictures that would show him as a positive figure rather than someone that was negative, and, you know, make him seem as a good character rather than evil. And also that, like, they have similar interest in, like, confirming the truth about Faust and learning about Stark and all that. So, there's similarities, and so eventually what happens is that rather than Sawa leaving the group, she joins the group, and this time rather than just being a spy, she's working with them. She has no connection to Namba. There's no strings attached anymore. That's the difference. So basically, they're going to work as a team. Additionally, what happens is, and this is something that was kind of hinted at from the very beginning of this episode when they did the whole, background on the previous episode, was the fact that, what is the name of, Ryoga's rider form? Now, we know it is Kamen Rider Cross, but the thing is that, constantly we have these moments where, Sento is referred to as Build rather than Sento. So, in this case, he wanted to know what his name is, and Ryoga ends up asking Sento, and he says, Cross, and he says yes, Kamen Rider Cross. So basically what that means is that next episode we will get that in the theme. Now for those who don't know, during the episode they didn't have the theme song, and that's because of the fact that he hadn't been confirmed as that name. So what's going to happen is that during the next episode the theme song will be there, but it will be an updated theme song that will feature Ryoga using Kamen Rider Cross, and it will look different. There will be similarities, but there will definitely be differences now because of that. So, should be interesting to see how that works out. I love to know your opinions. Did you guys enjoy this episode? I personally did a lot. A lot of really cool things that happened. Now that Nariki just died, that's a big deal, of course, because now he doesn't have an assistant. So that's important. That also means that we're moving even closer towards finding out the truth about who is Night Rogue, at least from their perspective. We know who it is, but Sento doesn't know, and so doesn't everyone else. Same with who is Katsuragi, or is Katsuragi Bloodstark? We don't know for a fact. We assume it is who we think it is, but we don't know yet. Additionally, what we did see in the preview is that's explained a little bit. We do see that Sento and Ryoga will be fighting together rather than doing separate fighting, which happened in this episode, where Sento fought in one area and then Ryoga fought in another area. In this case, they'll be fighting as a team, which is nice, and that's really good. Additionally, what we do see is a new form that's going to be used next episode, which is the Octopus Light form. So yes, it's a combination of a light, like an actual, we have light, and an octopus. So that's kind of cool. It's going to be an interesting form to see. And I think that is going to have a unique weapon as well. I'm not sure about that, but I think maybe. So that should be something to look forward to. And overall, I'm looking forward to seeing just where the show goes again. We're still very early, but we're getting somewhere. So that's really cool. Still a lot of stuff has to be revealed and confirmed, but we're making some moves towards getting even further into the story, and it's really good. So I'd love to know your opinions. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe. Tell me what you guys think. I'll see you guys in the next videos. Until then, guys, I'm Crazy Samurai 1, and bye, guys.